Sons of the Forest is an upcoming survival horror video game developed by NMAG Games, the creators of the 2014 game The Forest. The game is a sequel to The Forest and is set in a remote, mysterious peninsula where players must survive against mutated creatures and uncover the dark secrets of the area. The game follows a new protagonist who is searching for his missing son in the aftermath of a plane crash. The player must scavenge for resources, build shelters, and fend off dangerous enemies while exploring the peninsula's twisted landscapes. Sons of the Forest is expected to build upon the survival mechanics and eerie atmosphere of the first game, with improved graphics and new features such as multiplayer. The game is set to be released on 23 February 2023. Fans of the first game will be pleased to know that Sons of the Forest has made significant improvements across the board. The game's world has been polished, and its NPCs have dynamic AI, which enhances the overall gameplay experience. Many of the changes in Sons of the Forest bring to mind elements of Don't Starve, a game that emphasizes surviving against the ever-changing natural world, both alone and with other players. The game has dropped the sanity meter from the first game, instead adding advanced options for building and crafting. This shift in focus away from reaching a single safe space and towards creating shelters along the journey is reminiscent of the gameplay in Don't Starve. Players will need to rely on their survival skills to make it through the game's challenging world, just like in Don't Starve. NMAG Games has confirmed that Sons of the Forest will offer players the option to play solo or multiplayer, with the ability to survive together in groups of up to 8 players. In contrast to the first game, which added multiplayer 6 months after launch, Sons of the Forest will include this feature from the start. This brings to mind the shift in focus between Don't Starve and its cooperative sequel, Don't Starve Together. Although full details on how multiplayer will change the gameplay in Sons of the Forest have not yet been released, there are sure to be unique elements that enhance the overall experience for players. With the ability to work together or compete against one another, Sons of the Forest promises to offer an exciting multiplayer experience for fans of the survival genre. One of the most significant changes to the gameplay is the addition of an NPC companion for solo players. From the start of the game, players can recruit a fellow crash survivor named Kelvin. This new feature is similar to Don't Starve Together's followers, allowing Kelvin to help with gathering resources, battling, and building structures to aid in survival. However, Kelvin's presence is not merely a passive addition to the gameplay experience. He will respond dynamically to players in the environment, making it essential to take care of Kelvin's needs as much as the players. This feature adds an exciting new element to the game, as players will have to think more carefully about their actions and how they impact their companions' well-being. While there are some differences, such as the requirement to recruit Kelvin using food, there is not yet information on how players' interactions with him might affect his character. Sons of the Forest is introducing a new AI system called Veil, which will allow both allies and foes to approach situations dynamically. The NPCs in the game will experience various survival conditions, and the AI will enable them to express emotions related to their experiences. In essence, Veil adds a new layer of complexity to the game's AI system, giving the NPCs more human-like behavior and reactions. Players can expect a more immersive experience as they interact with NPCs that have their own unique perspectives on the world, which may affect how they behave towards the player. Kelvin, for example, will not only feel thirsty or hungry, but can also react to feeling scared or bored, affecting his behavior and decisions in the game. Meanwhile, enemies will pursue their own survival and use advanced tactics to either steal resources or attack the player directly. It remains to be seen whether Kelvin's emotions and experiences could lead to aggression towards the player, similar to some of the Don't Starve Together's followers. However, it's clear that his relationship with the player will be essential for their joint survival, as the AI system in Sons of the Forest is designed to make the game world more dynamic and immersive. Players can expect to encounter NPCs that behave and react in ways that feel more human-like, making the game more challenging and realistic. As players navigate through the game world with their NPC companion, they will need to take into account their companion's emotional state and needs, just like they would in a real-life survival situation. The game world is expanding to a massive 4 times the size of the original map. Unlike the forest, which had a base camp that had to be defended from enemies each day. Sons of the Forest will require players to focus on finding or building shelters in addition to a home base. This aspect of survival is similar to the gameplay in Don't Starve, which emphasizes the importance of building and maintaining shelters to protect against the dynamic forces of nature and time. However, the game is set to drop the sanity mechanic from the forest, which was a key aspect of Don't Starve's gameplay. With the larger game world, players will have more space to explore and more resources to discover. However, they will also face greater challenges and dangers, including new types of enemies and unpredictable weather conditions. As players journey through the game world, they will need to be strategic in their shelter building and resource management in order to survive. The game takes another page from the Don't Starve series, as it introduces dynamic seasons that will test a player's survival skills. Unlike the original game, which only featured a day and night cycle and rainy weather, Sons of the Forest will fundamentally alter both combat and resource gathering depending on the season. The harsh winter will limit the availability of food, but frozen bodies of water could offer rapid traversal over certain areas. As in Don't Starve, enemy behavior and tactics will change as they adapt to the weather. Surviving the changing seasons in Sons of the Forest requires careful planning and decision-making. Players must decide whether to stockpile resources during the calm seasons or brave the harsh weather in search of supplies. However, Sons of the Forest goes beyond Don't Starve's gameplay loop by adding deeper horror elements to the mix. Surviving is just one of the player's objectives as they attempt to complete the game's narrative. Unlike Don't Starve Together, players will not be able to switch between characters best suited for survival in specific conditions. Building on the survival mechanics established in the forest, Sons of the Forest aims to deepen the player's experience and has drawn comparisons to the Don't Starve series. While details about the game's later stages are still scarce, the enhancements made to its core gameplay are highly anticipated. Whether Sons of the Forest will meet fans' expectations remains to be seen, but fortunately, they won't have to wait much longer to find out. The game is set to be released on February 23, 2023 via Early Access for Microsoft Windows on Steam. I know a cool YouTube channel you can keep an eye on if you like video games in order to get all the latest updated and news about the gaming world. The channel is called What to Game. See you in the next video.